Okay, guys, I am here with some Hollywood royalty, and I'm going to tell you something. Now, when I watch your father, when I watch your father in movies now, all I can think of is, wow, Robert Mitchum really does look a lot like my friend Chris Mitchum.
Yeah, well, he was there first.
He was there first, but you're here now, and I'm not kidding. You're a gorgeous hunk of man, for one thing. But you are so much like your father, and you said something like you don't have his baritone voice, but I hear the same cadence and all that kind of stuff. But also, you've had the most amazing career all on your own.
Yeah, it's been an interesting career.
Your first two credits on IMDb, though, are not so great. You were the washboard player and a dead body.
I don't think I'm credited for that. Was 13 in Thunder Road. I played the washboard on the front porch.
Well, that was with your father, though.
Yeah. That was like a home movie, Thunder Road. But my first actual acting job. I used to work when I was at the University of Arizona. I would go down to Old Tucson and work as an extra. And they're shooting a TV series called Dundee and the Colhane with John Mills and a guy named Sean Garrison. Is a cowboy western thing, a traveling lawyer. And Sam Manners, the production manager, said, "Chris, you ever get to Hollywood and want an acting job, give me a call." So I moved from Arizona back to L.A., and I gave him a call. He said, "Well, coming in, I think I have a part for you." So I walked in, go into the office, and there's the producer, the director, and Sam. And they said, "Don't you think he's perfect for the part of the kid?" They said, "Oh, God, he's great for it." Yeah, he said, "You got the job, $150, one day's work." I said, "Okay." He said, "Pick up a script on the way out." I said, "Don't you want me to read for the part?" He said, "No, you don't need to read." So I go home and opened up the script. The character is dead before the opening credits. Not only is he dead, he doesn't even die on screen. They hear a scream in the stable. Everybody runs down, and they roll my body over. I thought, well, and I got 2 days' work out of it. They didn't get to me the first day. So my next part was Danny Thomas Hour with Sammy Davis Jr. and a great young man at the time. Now he's a great older man, Bo Hopkins. And it's a World War II thing about the Nazis infiltrating American troops. And Bo and I had two lines together in the barracks. We're horizontal. And I thought, this is great. I'm still horizontal, but I'm alive and speaking now. I got nowhere to go but up. I'm on the charts with a bullet. And then I got into production. I didn't work as an actor for about 2 or 3 years, and they started hiring me out of the office. I was doing a little film called Bigfoot, and they told me that Jody McRae wanted more money than they could afford as a 2-week shoot, little motorcycle gang meets the monster. And if you see the credits, I'm starring and second assistant director. So I did that film, yeah. And then I went on to Suppose They Gave a War and Nobody Came with Tony Curtis. And great cast. Dan High Averback was the director. And I had my hair down to here and a full beard. And I'm working in the accounting office on cost overruns at Warner Brothers. And he stops me. He says, "You ever do any acting?" I told him about this little motorcycle monster movie. He said, "We have a part in this movie for a hippie GI." He said, "Well, do you want to do that?" I said, "No, I want to work production." He said, "How much are you making here?" I said, "I'm making $150 a week." He said, "We'll give you $150 a week as an actor." No, $500 a week as an actor. And when you're not on the set, you come back and do this job. I said, "Perfect." Well, the first thing they did was give me a GI haircut and shave my beard. So the whole hippie look that he hired me for was completely gone. But they liked what I did, and the first day's work is supposed to be 2 GIs, and they combined them into one role, and they wrote an extra scene for me with Brad Dillman. An agent saw the film and signed me as an actor, and I said, "I don't want to act." They said, "Well, if you have an acting job and nothing in production competing, will you do it?" I said, "Sure, I got to feed my family." And I started working as an actor, and until I worked with Howard Hawks in Rio Lobo, he taught me to love acting, because he really involved the actors in the whole process of acting. And from that on, I never looked back.
When we were sitting talking yesterday, and I don't even remember who came up to talk to you, but you started saying names, and you just started saying Duke and Tuck, and Duke and Tuck and Chuck, and you were naming these names just like offhand, but you were talking about John Wayne and Charlton Heston and people. Yeah, Chuck, and people that and Forrest Tucker too. Though I mean, these people that you just worked with, and then also that you probably just knew your whole life, and that are just monsters in the Western world here at this Western Film Festival. What was that like? What were they like to work with them? And I mean, your life is amazing. It's been very cool for outsiders.
Yeah, so somebody came up to me this morning and said, I Googled you and looked over your life. He said, you've done a lot of stuff. You've had an amazing life. And sometimes I would go back and look at what I've done. I thought, wow, I did all that. But yeah, I was very fortunate. You know, the people I worked with, I mean, the film I did, after I did Big Jake, and I found out later why, I couldn't even get a job interview. You know, I was on the Johnny Carson show 3 times. I was Dick Cavett, Merv Griffith, Cover 17 magazine twice, and I couldn't even get a job interview. And the people who bought the film for Spain, Jose de Vicuña was the producer. He owned Coca-Cola distribution in Spain, owned Paramount Films distribution. He bought Big Jake for Spain, and he was going to produce his first film, which was a film called in Spanish, Un Verano para Matar, Summertime Killer. And I was actually on the PA tour for Big Jake, and we had a layover in Houston, and I was with Patrick. And I get a call from my agent, and he says, these 2 guys want to fly in from Spain and meet you in New York. They'll fly you up on Sunday, have lunch with you, and they want to give you a script. So I read the script on the way back, and it's a phenomenal script. Said yes to it. 5 times the money I had made with Duke. So that was good, too. Went to Spain, made the film as Claudia Nanger, Olivia Hussey had just finished Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, Carl Malden, a phenomenal cast. Went back, and again, for like 11 months, I couldn't even get an interview. I finally got a job interview, walk in, a film called Steelyard Blues, and the casting woman looks at me and says, oh, you're that Chris Mitchum. I said, what do you mean, that Chris Mitchum? He said, well, you starred with John Wayne. I said, yeah. He said, I'm sorry, I can't interview you. I was blackballed because Duke was very outspoken against the flag burners during the Vietnam War, very outspoken against the guys throwing on urine on our troops when they came home. And Hollywood was afraid that I would be another conservative voice, another star who was a conservative voice. So I was blackballed. And to kind of attest to that, there's a film called True Grit with an actress named Kim Darby. They're talking about a possible Academy Award nomination. I'd like people to name her second film after that. They can't. Vanished. She did like 8 films after that and disappeared. So, that was kind of what was going on. So shortly after that, I get a telegram, and it's from the still man who was on Summertime Killer. And he said, the producer has contacted me. He would like you to read a script and do a film in Spain. I went over there. It turns out Summertime Killer was the biggest grossing film in Spain's history, had been on the Gran Via at the biggest theater in Spain for a year. And I was a major star. My first night at the hotel, another guy knocks on the door, another producer. He says, I'd like you to read the script. I'd like you to do this after this film. So between films, I went home, rented my house to Dan Haggerty, and there's a whole story there. Went back to Spain and moved there for 3 years. And I worked there. Everything I did there went to Asia. And then I started getting offers from Asia, went to Asia, and ended up working in 14 different countries and 60 films starring.
So America rejected you, and then the rest of the world said, we want you.
Yeah.
And but didn't you did a lot of other movies too.
Well, yeah, I did some smaller stuff. The last big film I did in the States was about 2 or 3 years later, and it took another conservative to get me onto the film, a man named Charlton Heston, on a film called The Last Hard Man, and that was fun.
Well, now you've got a couple of films on IMDb in pre-production. It says
they never contacted me about those. So
I was going to ask you. So you don't even know Mainland to Oahu?
Yeah, that's been showing up on IMDb in pre-production for like 3 or 4 years. I tried to track down who these people are, saying, if you're going to use my name, let's make a deal.
Oh my gosh! Well, that's really strange. You don't even remember ever making this film?
I never made it. I've never met the people who are making it. They have this idea of a film, and they want me in it, and there it is.
Show you the money.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Chris Mitchum, one of the nicest, most normal. Okay, my business partner, my friend Morgan Brittany used to be the most normal, wonderful person in Hollywood, but Chris Mitchum is a close second. You're just one of the greatest guys, and so happy for all your success. And just to be a normal guy that comes out of Hollywood, you are a unicorn.
Oh, I think that happened because I don't think I knew my father was an actor till I was like 12 years old. He'd come home from the studio. He left work at the studio. He didn't really get involved a lot with Hollywood. He'd come home and have dinner and teach my brother and I archery in the backyard and boxing in the backyard. And all this. Went on one summer. He got a Ford flatbed flatbed truck, and had the studio, had RKO build a camper on it, and they think it may be the first camper ever made. And he sold the rights of the design to somebody. But we did a summer-long camping trip with my brother, my dad's stand-in, Tim Wallace, and my dad. And we went fishing and hunting. And back then you could pull over the side of the road, ask the farmer, do you mind if we camp here? And they'd say, go ahead. You go into a park and you just find your own camping place. They weren't all numbered. It was a little different world. But we spent the summer camping together because my dad didn't have any work going. So, I knew him as a father. And as a musician, he taught himself to play the piano, to write music. He wrote songs. He cut 3 albums. I remember when Elvis Presley came to the house at the Christmas party. When the party was over and everybody had left, Elvis and my dad sat down at the piano taking turns playing old New Orleans blues songs and the gospels and singing together. But I knew Elvis Presley was a star. People like Murrell and Monroe were friends of the family, but Elvis I knew was a star.
Who has these stories? Chris, thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you more as soon as the camera's off because holy Toledo. Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
You're the best.
Right.